chosen one. There is a knowing inside you that no one in your family has ever been able to name. You have carried it for as long as you can remember, the quiet, persistent sense that the pattern running through your bloodline was not supposed to keep running, and that someone, somewhere, was being prepared to bring it to an end. Tonight, in this private moment, that knowing is being confirmed. You were right. You always were. The generational curse you have been mistaking for your own personality, your own weakness, your own fate, is not a punishment. It is unfinished business. A prayer, prayed by someone in your line long before you were named, asking that one descendant would finally be born with the awareness, the willingness, and the divine timing to absorb the inheritance, sort what is theirs from what is yours, and walk forward, carrying only what was always meant for you. That descendant is the one watching this message right now, not by accident, not by random pull, by appointment. Watch alone. Silence whatever is competing for your attention. Because what is about to be spoken closes a line that has been open longer than your life and opens a lineage that begins with you. Before I say one more word, I need you to settle. Stop scrolling. Stop searching. Stop the multitasking. If there is anyone in the room with you right now, this message is not for them. It is for you alone. If music is playing somewhere, lower it. If a notification rises, let it pass. The instruction to watch alone was not theatrical. It was protective. Because what is about to be received does not land in noise. It only lands in stillness. Take one full breath. Settle into the seat you are in, or the bed you are lying in, or the road you are driving on. Whatever your body is doing, let your spirit come fully into this moment. Now, I can begin. And one quick thing before we go deeper. Everything I share in this hour is at no cost to you. If at some point your spirit tells you there is more you need to carry this work further, it will be waiting in the description and pinned at the top of the comment section. Only if you feel led. Now I want to ask you to stay with me to the very end of this message, because between this moment and the closing, I am going to walk you through 3 specific places the pattern hides in your bloodline that almost no one in your family has ever named out loud. I am going to bring you to one Hebrew word that completely changes how you understand what is happening to you right now. I am going to share 2 practical tools you can use this same week to begin breaking the pattern from the inside. And at the very end of this hour, I am going to speak something over your life and the 7 generations behind you that I believe will stay with you long after this message ends. The deepest part is not at the start. It is at the end. Stay with me. We are walking together. Now, before we can break the pattern, we have to name it. And the pattern hides in 3 specific places that most people never look. Most people see only the surface. They see the broken relationships. They see the bank account that stays the same. They see the same arguments repeating in the kitchen of every generation, and they call it bad luck. They call it personality. They call it just the way things are. But it is none of those. There is a fire that knows the difference between what is yours and what was placed on you, and that fire is what we are walking through together right now. Let me show you where the pattern is hiding. The first place the pattern hides is in the events around you. You have watched the financial ceiling return at almost the same number across decades, no matter who in your family tried to break it. You have watched the same relational collapse arrive at the same age across your siblings or your cousins. You have watched the shape of the conflict your parents lived inside slowly take the same shape inside your own home. You have watched a career sabotage arrive at the exact moment a breakthrough was within reach, not just for you but for the ones who came before you. These are not coincidences. These are not bad decisions. These are inheritances. Each one was handed to you the way a piece of clothing is handed down, fitted, before you had the chance to measure if it actually fit. And the reason none of them respond to ordinary effort is simple. Ordinary effort works on ordinary problems. Inherited frequency does not move when you push against it. It moves only when you finally see it for what it is. The second place the pattern hides is inside you. It hides in the anxiety that meets you walking into rooms before anyone has even spoken to you. It hides in the self-doubt voice that sounds suspiciously like the voice of one specific person from your childhood. It hides in the emotional flinch that arrives the moment love gets too close, the moment success becomes too real, the moment the door you have been waiting for actually opens. You did not invent these reactions. You were tuned to them. And here is the permission I want you to take into the rest of this hour. You are allowed to feel these patterns without becoming them. You are allowed to name them without dishonoring the people who passed them. You are allowed to leave them without leaving your family. Because the pattern is not the person, and the person you love is not the pattern they carried. Naming the difference is the first crack in the wall. The third place the pattern hides is the most invisible of all. It hides in the ceiling you put on what you allow yourself to ask for. It hides in the exact moment you shrink when something good is finally arriving. It hides in the strange, unexplainable need to apologize every time you become more than the version of you the family knew how to handle. You have called this self-sabotage. You have blamed yourself for it. You have tried to read books about it and rewrite the script of your own thinking. But what you have been calling self-sabotage is not a flaw inside you. It is something more subtle. It is loyalty. Loyalty to the version of you that was acceptable to the line. Loyalty to the ceiling that made everyone else feel safer. Loyalty to the unspoken agreement that no one is supposed to outgrow what came before. And once you see it as loyalty, the whole picture changes. Because loyalty can be redirected. Loyalty can choose a higher object. And the loyalty you have been giving to the ceiling can be given instead to the lineage that begins with you. Let me stop for a moment. Take one breath. You have just heard 3 things you have probably suspected for years, but never had the words for. Sit with them for a moment before we go any deeper. There is no rush in this hour. The truth that has waited generations to be spoken can wait 3 more breaths to settle. Notice that you are still here. Notice that you did not walk away from these words. That is its own answer to the question you have been quietly asking. The one who reads truths like these and stays is the one the truths were written for. We are going to keep going, but softly, together. Here is what almost no one in your family was given the language to understand. The patterns we have just named do not transmit only through behavior. They do not transmit only through the stories told at dinner tables. They transmit through frequency, through the tuning of the nervous system itself. Long before you had a thought of your own, before you had words to evaluate what was happening around you, your body was learning a default setting. The first 7 years of your life, your nervous system was downloading the frequency the room was running on. The fear, the scarcity, the watchfulness, the readiness to brace whatever was humming in the air around the people who raised you, that was the tuning your body received. And that tuning became your sense of normal. So when life later offers you peace, your body reads peace as suspicious. When life offers abundance, your body reads abundance as unsafe. When love arrives without conditions, your body reads it as a trap. Not because something is wrong with you, because the frequency you inherited has not yet been recalibrated. And what you cannot retune at the level of frequency, you will repeat at the level of life. And I hear the divine saying over your line in this exact moment. I have heard the prayer of the unfinished. I have heard the silent ache of every generation that did not know how to finish what they began. I have appointed the one who can finish it, and the appointed one is no longer hidden. The appointed one is the one who finally agreed to listen long enough to be told the truth. The appointed one is the one in this room. Now I want to bring you a wisdom figure I cannot leave out of this conversation. There is a man named Moses, and almost everyone has heard a version of his story. But there is a detail most people miss, and it changes everything for what you and I are talking about right now. Moses was born into a people who had been carrying a generational pattern for 400 years. 400 years of slavery. That is roughly 7 generations. 7 generations of fathers and mothers passing down the same conditions to their children, watching the same ceilings, walking the same hours, dying inside the same system. And here is the detail. Moses was not raised inside that pattern. Moses was raised in the palace of the very system that was crushing his people. He grew up learning the language of the oppressor. He grew up understanding the codes of the system from the inside. And every part of that upbringing felt, to him, like a kind of betrayal of where he came from. He could not understand why his life had unfolded that way. He carried guilt for being the one who got out, the one who had access, the one whose existence did not match the suffering around him. Until one day, at a burning bush, the divine showed him that none of it was random. He had been raised inside the system precisely so that he could break it from the inside. That detail belongs to you too. We are going to return to it in the next part of this conversation. Hold it lightly, because here is the part of this hour I cannot skip. Even if everything I have said so far makes sense to you, there is a feeling sitting underneath all of it that has not yet been named, and if we do not name it, it will keep stopping you. The feeling is guilt. The guilt of becoming someone your family does not fully recognize anymore. The guilt of having opportunities they did not have. The guilt of healing while the people you love remain in the same room you used to live in. The guilt of out-earning, out-marrying, out-thriving the line you came from. The guilt of pulling away to protect a frequency they cannot yet hear. You have felt all of it, and you have wondered, quietly, if it makes you selfish, if it makes you ungrateful, if it makes you the bad one in the family for choosing a different road. Let me speak directly to that feeling, because it is the single thing the pattern uses most to keep you tethered. Boundaries are not betrayal. Distance is not abandonment. Silence is not cruelty. Becoming is not disloyalty. Breakthrough is not theft. And the love you carry for the people in your line does not have to be carried in the same shape they carried it. The pattern does not need another faithful carrier. It needs an honest finisher. And the honest finisher is not the one who hates where they came from. The honest finisher is the one who loves where they came from enough to refuse to repeat what wounded it. That is you. That has always been you. The role has been waiting for someone who could carry love and refusal in the same hand. You are the one who can. So hear this clearly. You are allowed to outgrow the version of the family that required you to shrink. You are allowed to honor where you came from without reenacting where you came from. You are allowed to grieve what your bloodline did not heal. You are allowed to love them from the new frequency without being pulled back into the old one. You are allowed to keep what was beautiful and release what was wounding. You are allowed to be the answer they did not know how to pray for. And you do not owe anyone in your line an apology for becoming the one they were always quietly waiting for, even when they did not have the words to say so. And as you are sitting in this permission right now, I want to mention something practical that has come up in many of the conversations I have had with people doing this exact work. There is a tool called the Genius Song. It was developed by a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake after more than 3 decades of research, and what it does is something very specific. It works at the level of frequency we have been talking about, 7 minutes a day, through headphones, designed to gently recalibrate the brain back toward what is called the gamma frequency, the frequency that was your original tuning before the line wrote over it. If the inherited frequency is the lock we have been naming, this is one of the keys, not the only key, but one many people in your generation have been quietly asking for without knowing how to name. It is linked in the description and pinned at the top of the comment section if you want to look at it. Only if your spirit says yes. We are not finished yet. The most important part of this hour is still ahead. Keep walking with me. Let me bring you to the edge of this part of our conversation. We have named the pattern in the 3 places it hides. We have located its root in the frequency your nervous system inherited before you had a vote. We have given you permission to leave it without leaving the people you came from. That alone is more than most people walk into a year of therapy and never quite reach. But there is more, because in the next part of this hour, I am going to take you to one specific Hebrew word that completely rewrites the story of what is happening to you right now. I am going to walk you through what Moses actually understood at the burning bush and how that understanding belongs to you personally. I am going to share 2 specific practices you can use this same week to begin moving the pattern at the conscious level. And, before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life that I believe will travel with you long after this hour is over. Stay with me. The deepest part is just ahead. We will continue. If you are returning to this message after a break, or if you are still here uninterrupted, that return is itself a sign. You did not have to come back to the second half. You did not have to keep listening, but you did. And what that tells me about you is something only the ones who were always going to break the pattern would understand. We are at the threshold now. We named the pattern in the first part of this hour. Now, we end it. Settle in one more time. If you can lower the lights or close one more tab, do it. If you are driving, just bring your awareness gently back to your breath for one slow count. The watch alone instruction still holds. We are about to walk into the most important part of everything you have heard tonight. Here is what most people miss about the moment at the burning bush. Moses did not decide to break the 400-year pattern. He did not wake up one morning, plan a strategy, and march back into Egypt with confidence. He was called by name. Out loud. The divine knew his name before the assignment was placed in his hands. And the first thing Moses said back, the very first thing, was a version of the sentence you have probably said quietly to yourself more than once. I am not the one. I am not ready. Find someone else. And the divine essentially answered him with this. I know. That is why it is you. The people who feel ready for an assignment this large are almost never the ones who can carry it. The people who carry it well are the ones who feel the weight before they accept it. Your hesitation is not disqualification, it is qualification. Now, I want to bring you one Hebrew word that completely changes the meaning of what is happening to you right now. The word is yatzah, spelled in English as Ya-T-Sa. It appears in the book of Exodus when the divine tells Moses that the people will be brought out of the system that has been holding them. On the surface, the word seems to simply mean to bring out, to come forth, to exit. But the deeper meaning is something else entirely. Yatzah means to be drawn out by name into an identity that did not exist before the calling. It does not mean escape. Escape is just leaving. Yatzah means being reissued. The people who walked out of that system were not the same people who walked into it generations earlier. They were renamed in the leaving. Picture a single thread being pulled out of an old piece of cloth and woven back into a new piece of cloth. Same material, completely different design. So hear this clearly. You are not escaping your line. You are being called out. You are being reissued. And I hear the divine saying directly to the one who is listening right now, I did not save you from your line. I called you out of it. And what I call out, I name. And what I name, I commission. And what I commission, I send back not to be absorbed by what you came from, but to be the answer the line has been waiting for. Since the first one in your family whispered a prayer their child would never hear. I think of a woman in her late 30s, the daughter of a daughter of a daughter, 3 generations of women who all married a similar kind of man, all worked the same kind of jobs, all settled at the same ceiling without ever speaking the word ceiling out loud. She did one thing different. She named the pattern. Within a year, her work, her relationships, and her inner life had reorganized completely. She did not escape her line. She was called out of it. So let me give you 2 specific tools you can carry into this week. The first one I call the lineage audit, and here is how to do it. Because you might be lying down, or driving, or in a space where you cannot pick up a pen, I am going to ask you to do this entirely in your mind right now. Bring to mind 3 people in your family across the generations. Could be parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, the ones you remember and the ones you only heard stories about. Now here is the counterintuitive part. Do not think about their failures, think about their successes. Think about the highest place each of them ever reached. The most they ever earned, the strongest moment they ever stood in, the closest they ever came to the breakthrough you sense was supposed to happen. Hold those 3 images in your mind, one at a time, and quietly notice, does the thought of exceeding each one make you slightly uncomfortable? That discomfort is not weakness. That is what loyalty to the ceiling feels like. Naming it in this private moment is the first audit. The ceiling you can name is the ceiling you can leave. The second tool I call the inheritance return. And this one is built entirely on visualization, so you can do it right here, exactly where you are. Choose one emotion you have been carrying that you suspect was not originally yours. Could be scarcity, could be a particular shape of fear, could be the unexplainable need to be small. Just one. Now in your mind, picture the person you believe handed it to you. Could be a parent, a grandparent, even a stranger from a story you were told. Picture them standing in front of you, and in your mind, gently lift the feeling out of your chest like you are picking up something heavy you have been holding for a long time. Place it carefully back into their hands, and say silently, "This was always yours to carry. I love you, and I am no longer the one carrying it." That is the whole practice. 3 minutes, 1 feeling, 1 named person, 1 mental return. Do not force a result, just let it land. Vague releasing leaves residue. Named return leaves you clean. If one word comes up in your spirit during this practice, leave it in the comments below when we close. Just 1 word, so others crossing tonight can see they are not alone. Now, before I can show you the specific tool I mentioned earlier in this hour, and I will show you, because it matters, there is one more thing I have to reveal. One more layer underneath everything we have walked through. And without it, the tool does not mean what it is supposed to mean. This is the layer that ties everything else together. Stay with me. We are at the threshold. The next few minutes are the most important minutes of this entire conversation. Here is why we walked through all of this, in plain language. The generational pattern persists because the nervous system inherits the frequency before consciousness can evaluate it. You cannot think your way out of a tuning that was set before you had thoughts. You can name it, you can return it, you can be called out of it, and you can recalibrate the frequency itself at the level it was first programmed. That is the why. Here is the what. What you have learned in this hour is 3 specific things. The first is that the pattern is not your character. It is inherited frequency. The second is that you are not escaping it. You are being called out of it by name. The third is that there are 2 practical tools, the lineage audit and the inheritance return, that begin the disowning at the conscious level. These 3 are the foundation. You can do all of this work without anything else and see real movement within weeks. And here is who you are now, as plainly as I can say it. You are the 7th generation answer to the 1st generation prayer in your line. The divine knew your name before the assignment. The assignment is the cycle breaking. The tools are the beginning. And the recalibration of the frequency itself, the part your nervous system was tuned to before you had any say in it, is the deeper layer. That deeper layer is what comes next. In a lab in Cambridge, researchers traced exactly what happens when the gamma frequency in the human brain is suppressed across generations. Gamma is the frequency associated with intuition, with flow state, with the kind of internal clarity where the right answer arrives before the question is even fully formed. It is the frequency every child possesses naturally between the ages of 3 and 6. And then, beginning at about age 7, the modern world, schooling, screens, scarcity programming, The very system Moses understood from the inside begins systematically suppressing it. Scientists call this the decline effect. The decline is not the design. The decline is the layering over. The gamma frequency is still inside you. It was simply written over by the inherited frequency we have been naming. This research was led by a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake. 34 years of work, much of it in collaboration with research teams at MIT, Princeton, and several other leading research universities. And what came out of that work is something I want to introduce you to now. Remember the fire I mentioned at the beginning of this hour? The fire that knows the difference between what is yours and what was placed on you. The recalibration of the gamma frequency is that fire, working at the level your conscious mind cannot reach by effort alone. It does not destroy you, it separates. Before I show you the tool, I need you to understand who you are in this. You were not born with the inherited frequency. The inherited frequency was layered on top of your original tuning. The recalibration does not give you something new. It returns you to factory settings. The settings the source installed before the line wrote over them. A woman named Priscilla wrote to share what shifted for her. 6 weeks of daily use, 7 minutes each morning. And the change she described was not dramatic in the way the world measures drama. It was quieter than that. She finally negotiated a raise she had been avoiding for years. She woke up one Tuesday and understood, for the first time, the exact shape of her father's pattern that she had been quietly carrying without naming. She is one of more than 18,300 people who have used this tool, and less than 4% of them have returned it, which tells you something important about what continues happening after the listening ends. If you are thinking, I have tried other things and nothing has worked, I hear you. That sentence comes from a real history, and I am not going to argue with it. This is not the same kind of thing. The other things asked you to push harder against the frequency. This works at the frequency itself. You do not have to do anything except put it on, close your eyes, and listen for 7 minutes. That is the entire instruction. It is called the Genius Song. That is the second time I have said its name in this hour. I do not believe in repeating names. So here is what you are looking at. The clinical biofeedback equivalent of this kind of calibration runs in the hundreds of dollars per session. The standard pricing for tools in this category runs around $49. For the people watching this message tonight, the price is $39. That price is not available on Amazon or anywhere else. Only through the verified link I will tell you about in a moment. It comes with 4 bonuses, total separate value of $80, included, at no cost, a gentle calibration designed for children before the decline effect takes root. The original book that inspired what later became The Secret, a 22-minute guided visualization across 4 life areas, and a deeper neural recalibration audio for ongoing work. The pattern has been waiting generations to be broken. The hour you walked into this conversation is itself the appointed moment. There is no consequence to choosing this later, only momentum to choosing it now, while everything we have walked through is still fresh in your spirit. There is something you need to protect yourself from before I close this part. There are knockoffs. There are similar-sounding tools that have not been calibrated by Dr. Lake. They will not do what this does. The only verified version is the one linked in the description and pinned at the top of the comment section below. If during any part of this hour you felt the pull toward this, the link is there. The Genius Song. That is the third and final time I will say its name in this entire message. What you do with it from here is between you and the source. And now we return to the most important part of this hour. I want you to do one thing in your mind right now. If you can close your eyes safely, close them. If you are driving or in a space where you cannot, simply soften your gaze and let your attention move inward. Picture yourself standing at a threshold. Behind you, a long corridor stretching back through the generations, 7 of them, faces partially turned toward you. The grandmothers and grandfathers and great-grandparents you knew, and the ones you only heard about. They are not blocking you. They are watching. They are leaning forward. They have been waiting for the moment you would arrive at this exact place. In front of you, an open doorway, warm light coming through it. A new corridor on the other side that has not yet been walked. Your name is written across the threshold itself. This is not symbolic. This is the actual configuration of your spirit at this hour. The crossing is not in the future. The crossing is right now. Let the weight of the long corridor behind you settle. Let the steadiness of the doorway hold you. The threshold knows you. Step. We have walked through a fire together. We are on the other side of it now. The diagnosis, the route, the permission, the teaching, the tool, the threshold. None of it was rushed. None of it was performance. Every part of this hour was a door, and every door opened only for the one ready to walk through it. The one ready to walk through it is the one still listening. So before anything else closes, I want this moment of recognition between us to land. You came, you stayed, you crossed. Now picture the weight of your line as a long cloak you have been wearing your entire life, woven from threads handed down from every generation behind you. Beautiful in some places, heavy in others, dark in a few. Now, slowly, in your mind, let the cloak slide from your shoulders, not in violence, not in rejection of the people who wove it. In permission, the cloak falls. Some of those threads will be rewoven into a new cloak you wear forward, the threads of love and faith and quiet strength. Others will return to the ones who first wove them. You do not need to decide which is which in this hour. You only need to let it fall. And I declare over the one watching this message by the source who knew your name before your line wrote its first chapter, by the appointment placed over you, before you understood the language of appointments, that you are the answer, you are the cycle breaker. You are the one called out. The line bends at you, the pattern ends with you. The lineage you launch begins on the other side of this moment. The destiny's embrace your bloodline has been waiting for arrives in the form of one descendant who finally said yes. That descendant is you. You are commissioned, you are sent, you are sealed. And what has been declared over you in this hour cannot be undeclared. Not by your family, not by your past, not by your own doubt when it returns in the morning. You are commissioned, you are sent, you are sealed. The hour has done its work. The threshold has held. The line has bent. Know this, you are not alone in this. Right now, across the world, others in your generation are crossing the same threshold tonight. The reorganization is happening in waves. You are part of one of them. The one who breaks the pattern in their family does not break it for themselves alone. They break it for every name still to be written. Breathe one full breath and settle into what cannot be undone now. It is done. If this message landed somewhere in you that needed it, let the like be your quiet agreement. You do not have to say anything. The like is enough. And in the comment section below, I want you to leave one word, just one. The word that names who you are becoming on the other side of this threshold. It could be breaker. It could be first. It could be free. It could be returned. It could be a word only you understand. Whatever it is, leave it there. So the others crossing tonight can see they are not alone. If your spirit is telling you this is part of a longer walk, the rest of this work happens here. Stay close and share this message with someone in your life who has been unusually quiet about their family lately. Someone you sense is carrying weight they do not yet have language for. They may be at their own threshold and not yet know it. You walked alone tonight, but you do not walk forward alone. The line is with you. The source is with you. Go gently.